Now joining us is Dean Baker, economist, co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Dr. Baker, appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on, Rachel.
When I heard the president today say that Social Security is not causing the deficit, and it makes sense to run deficits in times of economic downturn or during wartime, when he said that health reform is all about the budget because it brings down costs and costs are the real problem, when the president said those things, they sounded to me like straight talk attacking the dumb Beltway common wisdom on the economy. But you are the economist here. Did you react to those things in that same way?
Well, mostly. Let me just give the negative, and then I'll come back with the positive. The negative is we do still have 8.8% unemployment. That should really be front and center on everyone's agenda. Remember, even George W. Bush signed a stimulus bill back when the unemployment rate was 4.7%. So getting jobs in the economy really should be front and center. Unfortunately, we do have this deficit obsession that the Washington Beltway crowd has been pushing. And on that score, I agree with most of what President Obama said. That's absolutely right with Social Security. That's not contributing to the deficit. That's by law. It can't contribute to the deficit. And on Medicare and health care, he made the point exactly right. The problem is we have to constrain health care costs. The problem is the private sector health care system, not the Medicare and Medicaid programs. And he talked about constraining costs in those programs, but not going the route that Representative Ryan wants to go, privatizing them, which will just send costs through the roof. So he made a lot of very good points there that I did appreciate.
So you feel like, just to summarize, that the president made points that you appreciated him hearing. You think that he rebutted a lot of the worst stuff that you've been seeing coming from the right. But from your perspective, the thing he additionally needed to make a further case for is more stimulus, more government action to create jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, to my mind, it really is unconscionable. Just sit back and have people go, oh, we're worried about the deficit 10, 15, 20 years out when we have 25 million people unemployed, underemployed, or out of the labor force altogether. They weren't the ones who made mistakes. We have to remember, the people who are suffering right now, it was Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, it was the people setting policy here in Washington who made the mistakes, not the people who are out of work suffering.
The president talked today about tax rates, about how tax rates for the richest people in the country are at a 50-year low. He mocked the Republican budget plan as unserious for trying to give another $1 trillion worth of tax cuts to wealthy people. But the overall deficit reduction approach he's taking is still less about taxes and more about reducing spending over time. Do you expect progressive economists and liberals more broadly, his supporters, to push him on that ratio of spending and taxes?
Yeah, well, the number he came out with was he said that he wanted to have $3 in spending cuts, interest rates and spending cuts for every dollar tax increase. And you are sort of hard-pressed to say, well, what's been the big explosion in spending here? I mean, this is what the Republicans jump on. And the reality was there was an increase in spending associated with the recession. We spend more on unemployment insurance, other programs like that because of the recession. There hasn't been this, crazed rush of spending. Now, there certainly are areas we can cut, and I would highlight the military budget. That's certainly an area, and President Obama did propose some cuts. I'd like to see more there. But this idea that you have to have $3 of cuts in spending for every dollar in tax increase, I just don't know why you, particularly, and that's your starting position. Again, that's one of the things that has us all worried, because, again, we know even in our dreams we're not going to get what President Obama proposed. That's a starting position. We're going to end up with something less. So that is cause for concern.
That point about whether or not this is the starting position or whether this is the ending position, I'm seeing emerge today among a lot of economic commenters from the left, that what he talked about today would be a good move forward for the country, and the hope now is that this could be a strong bargaining position rather than someplace that he will move right from.